I could remember.
I use elixirs on all my guitars, actually. I can just show up and open the case and it'll sound just as good as it did a week before. As a musician, it's one less thing I have to worry about, and you can't beat that.
Hey there, it's Caggiano here for Premier Guitar. In this video, I'm going to break down the foundational elements to jumpstart your fingerpicking journey and give you a solid fingerpicking technique. The fingerpicking elements we're going to cover in this video are proper sound quality, the 3 fingerpicking positions, PIMA and fingerpicking patterns, and fingerpicking practice methods. Let's start with proper sound quality. One of the most important, yet sometimes the most overlooked aspect of playing the guitar is sound quality. When fingerpicking, focusing on sound quality is very important because we're using multiple fingers playing multiple strings, and we want to make sure that each of the notes being played are equivalent in sound quality. To produce the purest sound on the guitar, it's important that the string is vibrating perpendicular to the sound hole. We want the vibration of the string moving in the direction of the sound hole. Our goal when plucking the string is to achieve this perpendicular vibration. Here's what that looks like. You can't really even see the string vibrating because it's vibrating into the sound hole. Here's what we don't want. We don't want the string vibrating parallel to the sound hole. Again, we want the vibration of the string aiming into the sound hole. The way we make this happen is by pushing the string in towards the sound hole, not pulling up from underneath the string. A great way to practice this is plucking one string over and over again with one finger and then the next. Now for the 3 fingerpicking positions. Whenever we're playing the guitar, we always want to have good technique. Good technique will always include playing in position. Just like we stay in position with the fretting hand when playing scales where we have one finger per fret playing as efficient as possible, we can also play in position with our fingerpicking hand, one finger per string. There are 3 main positions for fingerpicking. We're going to call these positions position 1, position 2, and position 3. Position 1 covers the high 4 strings of the guitar. The thumb is placed on the D string, the index finger on the G string, the middle finger on the B string, and the ring finger on the high E string. This is position 1. Position 2, all of the fingers move directionally up, one string. You now have the thumb on the A string, the index on the D string, the middle on the G string, and the ring finger on the B string. Position 3, we move all the fingers directionally up, one string. We now have the thumb on the low E string, the index finger on the A string, the middle finger on the D string, and the ring finger on the G string. So we have position 1, position 2, and position 3. This allows us to have one finger per string, keeping our fingerpicking playing very efficient. Even though we have our fingers locked in this position of one finger per string, the thumb is able to move across the bass strings, covering the low E, A, and D strings, depending on the bass notes of the chords we're playing. So if I'm in position 1 where the thumb is placed on the D string, it can also move to the A string and the low E string. If I'm in position 2 where the thumb is located on the A string, it can also move directionally up to the low E string. The thumb will be used to play the bass notes of chords and melodies. Here's a great way to practice that, just plucking thumb, index, middle, ring for all 3 positions. Here's position 1. Position 2. And position 3. You can also practice plucking basic open chords and allowing your thumb to move to hit the bass notes of each chord. For example, here's a C chord. I'm in position 1, but my thumb can move up to the A string to cover the root of C. Now let's talk about fingerpicking patterns. When studying fingerpicking, you may come across the term PIMA, P-I-M-A. This term PIMA actually means thumb, index, middle, ring, and it's used to notate our fingerpicking patterns. The study of fingerpicking technique really originated in the classical and Spanish style of playing the nylon guitar. So when notating the fingers, the Spanish words were used. P means thumb, I is index, M is middle, and A is ring finger. So we have P for thumb, I for index, M for middle, and A for ring. We're not going to be using the pinky. So if I was going to play just a very basic fingerpicking pattern of thumb, index, middle, ring, it would be P-I-M-A, P-I-M-A. Here's an example of fingerpicking notation with Pima. I'm using PMIA, PMIA, PMIA. Here's another one. PIAM, PIAM, PIAM. When beginning to learn fingerpicking patterns, it's very important to start with fixed fingerpicking patterns. A song with a fixed fingerpicking pattern is when the fingerpicking pattern stays the same from measure to measure. Basically, it's the same exact fingerpicking pattern for the entire song. Here's a great example of a fixed fingerpicking pattern. This is the song Dust in the Wind. The fingerpicking pattern is thumb and ring together, index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle. Once again, thumb and ring together, then index, middle, then thumb, ring, index, middle. So it would be P and A, I, M, P, A, I, M. That is the fixed fingerpicking pattern, and it is the same from chord to chord and measure to measure. Now let's talk about some of my favorite ways to practice fingerpicking. Now these methods may seem a little weird or unconventional, but they have done wonders for my students and created so much breakthrough in their fingerpicking technique. The first practice method is fingerpick without the guitar. Before learning and playing a fingerpicking pattern, it's very important that we first learn the actual motor skill of the fingerpicking pattern, and we clear the path of communication from the brain to the fingers. I'm going to flip the guitar over and use the flat surface of the back of the guitar for this. Now you can use just a basic flat surface like a table or a desk if you would like to, just easy for me to do this with the back of the guitar. You're going to place your fingers down on the flat surface and you're going to move the fingers in the order of the pattern. Let's take the fingerpicking pattern for Dust in the Wind, where it was thumb and ring together, then index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle. So I would do this: thumb and ring, index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle. Thumb and ring together, index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle. Again, I'm just working on the communication from the brain to the fingers. I'm working on the actual motor skill required to play the fingerpicking pattern. Thumb and ring, index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle, thumb, ring, index, middle. You can even do this with the metronome and work up to the tempo of the actual song. The second practice technique is what I refer to as the towel method. You're going to need a small towel or a washcloth for this exercise. I'm just using a little washcloth like this. Now, this is really my favorite way of strengthening the fingers for fingerpicking. I'm going to take this washcloth and I'm going to feed it through the strings of the guitar by the bridge. This will now create more tension, and your fingers will have to push harder through the strings. This is really going to strengthen your fingers. So now I'm going to use that same fingerpicking pattern for Dust in the Wind to strengthen my fingers using this towel method. Here we go. Now, one last thing, I want to talk about the pinky finger. I come from a more classical guitar background. I've been trained in the classical guitar, and when playing the classical guitar, we don't want anything touching the soundboard of the guitar because it can alter the quality. So resting the pinky on the soundboard can actually dampen the sound when playing the nylon string or classical guitar. Now, that's not as big of an issue when playing steel string acoustic that has a pickguard on it, but it's still good to practice your finger picking and start learning finger picking technique without resting the pinky finger on the soundboard of the guitar. The reason for this is because if we want to have good finger picking technique where it's one finger per string, when we're playing in these three positions, if I rest my pinky finger on the pickguard or anywhere on the soundboard of the guitar, it's going to be more difficult for me to move from position to position. I'm going to have a nasty stretch here from my ring finger to the pinky. So I tell my students when starting out finger picking, try to think of the pinky finger as an extension of your ring finger and kind of using them together. Now, there are some styles of finger picking on the steel string where it is more comfortable to anchor the pinky finger down, but I always recommend starting out with the pinky finger as an extension of the ring and not anchoring it yet. Then when you do get into playing those styles, you're able to do that. If we start out with the pinky finger as the anchor, then it can be more difficult to work on these 3 finger picking positions. I hope this video gave you a great foundation for finger picking, and there is so much more to learn when it comes to finger picking on the guitar. Enjoy the journey.